I don't normally get to shoot a lot of music videos, but when I do, they're always my best days on set. They're usually with friends, they're much looser and fun, and you get to experiment with new things that you wouldn't normally get to try if you're on set with a client. My buddy Gabe recently hit me up. He started a new band, asked me if I would help out with a music video, both on shooting and directing, and I said, of course. I'm gonna show you a couple clips of the music video, and then we'll jump into lighting and scene breakdown, my camera settings, and then we'll also just dive into a couple small tips that could be helpful on your next music video project. Hope you enjoyed that little clip of the music video. Now let's jump into my camera settings on the Lumix S5 Mark II. All right, so the settings I used on this music video are probably what you'd expect shooting in manual exposure, so I have full control. Color profile is V-Log for the most amount of dynamic range. Chord file MOV, so I can access 6K here. This is OpenGate, which is really nice because they also wanted some vertical cut downs of things, so that extra room in your frame is really nice for shooting both horizontal and vertical almost at the same time. Sound recording display, I kept this on in camera at all times because when you're shooting a music video, you have to sync up the song that's playing so they can lip sync to it to your camera. So this is just really nice to make sure that you're getting good levels, and I keep that in my menu all the time. This is a really nice feature too, the double card slot function. So I have this recording to 2 memory cards at the same time. Just in case something were to fail on important shoots, I always like to have this turned on. So now let's jump into our quick menu setting. This is a great button. It gives you easy access to important things you might want to change on the fly. I have just different levels of image stabilization here, focus peaking, and white balance, things that I might need to change on set that I can access super easily. I also changed my custom dial to Cine Slow and Cine. I just set these profiles up. So my Cine profile is V-Log, obviously, 6K, 24 frames a second, and then I can easily switch to 4K, 60 frames a second. So if the director wants to do a take in slow motion, it takes me no time at all just to turn the dial and then keep filming. This custom button is really nice. I have it set to Operation Lock, so if I press it, I cannot change any of my settings while I'm recording now. So this is really handy if you're doing handheld work. It's easy to knock one of these dials and change your ISO or your shutter speed. So I like to press that before I run a take. That way I don't have to worry about altering any of my settings. But yeah, that's really it. This camera is super customizable. So I would just spend some time on YouTube thumbing through these settings and figuring out what would work best for you and your productions. So now that we got camera out of the way, let's talk about some different scenes and the lighting choices that we made. So we shot this whole thing in an old mechanic shop. It's a pretty grungy location, but it totally worked for an indie rock video. So the main 3 things that we were lighting here is individual band member shots, an outdoor sequence, and then a 360 shot. 360 shot was obviously the trickiest because we didn't have a lot of budget, and normally I'd like to rig things from the ceiling or do more lights from outside. That wasn't an option. We had 3 hours and a big snowstorm was coming, so let's jump into the 360 first. That was the toughest. So as you can see here outside, there's like a nice blue glow coming through the windows. That is from an Aperture 600D with a gel on it. We're just pushing through here so those windows aren't totally black, just to add some color. We have this big red LED light here, and that's just pushing light across the background just to add some color separation. If we jump into this frame here, you have a better idea of where our key light's coming from. So we did our best to hide it behind this beam right here, so it's not so obvious. And that is just a 300D with a little bit of a warming gel on it, and 1 stop of diffusion. To add a little more atmosphere, we just threw a bunch of haze all around this place. Haze is a great way to add just another layer to your shots, especially if you're on a budget. The biggest thing with haze though is you need to kind of keep up with it. So if you do a bunch of haze one take and then move on to the next one, a lot of that haze is gonna diffuse. So you wanna always be hazing between shots And I don't like when haze is, you can see it floating around the frame. So after we throw a bunch of haze in the atmosphere, we take like a big flag or cardboard and we kind of, flop it around so that it evenly disperses. It just looks better. Here's another angle of the 360. So really all we did here was add a nice purple background light bouncing off of this garage and kind of flooding the rest of the room. We threw another little light bar in the corner here just to add, I like this reflection on the ground. It's adding it on the drums. This sort of key light on our talent's face is coming from that window push I was talking about. And then we have another like red light over here just kind of pushing more in. So we're just mixing a lot of colors, just trying to make every angle of this garage look somewhat interesting. And I'm pretty happy with this for, lighting this pretty quickly. Let's jump into my favorite frame, which is the outside. So this backlight right here is the same exact light that was lighting the inside of the garage, that blue in the windows I was talking about. And I just noticed as we were filming, like, wow, the snow is like super fluffy, it looks really cool. Let's do a take outside if you're down. And the reason we're getting a nice level of exposure on our talent's face here is because that light was bouncing into a huge garage, the same thing we were filming in, it was all white. So it was lighting our talent's face and giving a nice like natural look without having to, try to balance that frame, because otherwise it'd be a really contrasty image and it probably wouldn't be too pleasant to look at. We just kept the same like cool color temperature because we had a sodium vapor light in the corner that was not ours, just fixed to the shop, and that was adding this nice layer of warmth on the ground. So yeah, I like this color contrast here. Super happy with this. And then let's jump into the individual band member shots here. I'll just show you one. So it was snowing like crazy. I didn't want to ruin our nice light, so we brought it inside. So some of these windows are starting to go a little dark, which I don't love, but we did what we could. And we just took that same spotlight mount and you could see it on our drummer's hair right here, just to add, a nice like harsh, kind of cool, grungy level of color to contrast the red. And that's really all we did. We just shot everything wide open, handheld, timing the movements to the song to try to make it flow and fit nice. Yeah, and that's pretty much the lighting and scene breakdown. All right, so now let's jump into some practical tips for your next music video. So something I always recommend that people have that not everyone thinks about is a set of earplugs. So if you're doing a band sequence where the drummer needs to sync up to the song, it needs to be pretty loud for him to hear, and he's gonna be banging on those drums pretty loud, and you're gonna be the closest person on set to those drums. So a set of earplugs is pretty invaluable, or you're gonna have some bad tinnitus that night. And that leads me to my next tip, is to actually make sure that your speaker system, whatever the song is going over that the band is syncing to, is nice and loud. Keep in mind you're not working with actors. The music is really loud, it feels like they're actually at a concert, and they kind of slip into natural habits and performance. And it also just makes for better syncs. If the band can hear the song super clearly, they're not gonna be offbeat or off of lyrics, and it's gonna make your life in the edit much easier. I'll link all the band's socials down below. Shout out to them for letting us do behind the scenes of this project. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.